9 News Plus weather, sponsored by Carrier Colorado. The future of home comfort is here.
Thanks for joining us here on 9 News Plus. I'm meteorologist Chris Bianchi. You've got a pretty active forecast coming on up. A couple of my colleagues, meteorologists Keely Chalmers and Greg Perez, and I were just chatting about this forecast coming up as we get into your Thursday and your Friday. It looks pretty likely at this point that Denver, we are going to get our first measurable snowfall of the season late tomorrow night. That looks to be the main time window, probably between about kind of 8, 9 o'clock or so tomorrow night and about 1, 2 a.m. on Friday morning. The mountains, pretty big snow for us, especially in southern Colorado, starting later on tonight as well. So let's start things off by taking a look at those, well, at this snow stake here from Keystone. The reason I'm showing you that, because this time tomorrow, that's going to look just a tad different here in Keystone. Wouldn't be surprised. Keystone I-70 Mountains, probably in line for a good 4 to 8 inches plus for us here from this storm system. It does look like it's trending a little slower, which is good news if you want to see more accumulation. Keystone I-70 Mountains, bit of transparency, they will vary depending on the exact wind orientation. So just as a little heads up here, those ranges will be fairly wide into the mountains. Maybe even a 4 to 12 inch kind of range could be needed for the mountains. Now for us here in Denver, beautiful day today. If you like these 70-degree temperatures and all that sunshine, get outside and enjoy today, because it's probably the last day we're going to be at 70 or above for maybe the rest of the year for us here in the Denver area. Certainly nothing 70 plus past today in the foreseeable future. So again, if you like this kind of mild sunny weather, and frankly, speaking for myself here, who doesn't, probably going to get outside and enjoy that. I certainly got a run in this morning. Hopefully you get some time outdoors as well. So one more warm day today. Clouds decrease, kind of a weird forecast, because clouds are going to decrease a little bit through the kind of mid-afternoon hours, and then they're going to increase again tonight out ahead of our next storm system. And then in the mountains, that rain and snow gets going later tonight into the San Juans and into the Flat Tops, and maybe even as far east as San Cristos later on this evening. So two different things at play here on the HD Doppler radar. One, a weak separate system, and this is mostly mountain wave clouds that we're looking at here in the Front Range. Those pushing their way off to the north and east. This is an association with a weak little system traveling its way through our region. Not a big deal. The main storm system still well off to our west. And as I mentioned, that will reach us later on tonight and early tomorrow morning. So in places like Grand Junction, Montrose, as you're in lower elevations, Craig, anything probably 5,500 feet or below, including the Grand Valley, it's going to start as rain for us. Higher elevations, 5,500, 6,000 feet or above, including, again, the Flat Tops, the West Elks, the San Juans, on east into the San Cristos. That's where the snow will begin later tonight and early tomorrow morning, with snow that will be heavy at times for us. And as we head through the day tomorrow, again, it's going to be snowing pretty heavily at times for us. I'm going to kind of back this up a little bit for you so you can see here. There's some of those darker blues and purples. I wouldn't be surprised with the arrival of a front if we're talking about snow squalls tomorrow here into the mountains. So if you're traveling through the mountains tomorrow, give yourself a ton of time, four-wheel drive, snow tires, everything like that, all of those winter weather driving precautions, you need to put them into place tomorrow. I'm telling you this, folks. Highway 50, 285, same deal. Highway 40, same deal for us here, folks. We are talking about the potential for snow squalls, and that is something, again, we're going to have to watch for. And when we're talking about a snow squall, remember, that means you get a burst of snow. It's really intended for travel. Kind of think about a thunderstorm, but in snow version. You get a random kind of gust of wind, very, very heavy snowfall. It's intense at times. That's what we're going to be looking at, or at least a potential for that for tomorrow in the mountains. So again, avoid travel if possible into the mountains through the day tomorrow. Then by tomorrow night, we should start to see that snow gradually easing in the mountains, but that's when things begin for us along the Front Range, and more on that here in just a second. Temperatures right now, it's in the 40s, 50s already into the mountains, 50s and 60s, and in some cases, look at that, Lamar, already 75 out there in Prowers County. Ray at 72 and Springfield at 69 right now. These temperatures, what we're already looking at, this is already above average for this time of year. We're normally upper 50s in Denver for the first couple of days of November. So again, already in the 60s, that is already on the warm side of average. So for today, we'll get on up in the low to mid 60s, 70s, I should say. Yesterday, you might remember that we got up to 75 here in Denver. We were only 3 degrees shy of a daily record. Because of the cloud cover, probably a tick cooler today compared to yesterday. We had more sun yesterday, but still on the warm side. And again, these are temperatures. What you're looking at here is about 15 degrees above what we would expect for the second day of November. Now tonight, temperatures dropping back into the mid to upper 20s for parts of the I-25 corridor. We have still not dropped below 30 degrees here in Denver. That is our latest wait to drop below 30 degrees since 1979. So it has been a very mild start to the autumn season, no doubt about that for us here in the Denver area. We didn't get our first freeze until the end of October. We were about 2 to 3 weeks late in our first freeze, and looks like our first hard freeze could be coming up tonight. So it's already way late, but if you haven't picked your gardens or done anything like that, well, I don't know what to tell you at this point. Tomorrow, temperatures in the low 50s. We will have maybe some peaks of sun. I wouldn't be surprised we actually have a little bit of sun tomorrow morning here in the Denver area, but those clouds move their way on through. Very, very sharp cold front. Greg and I were just talking about this. Very, very sharp cold front moves through kind of mid to late morning tomorrow, and that will usher in not only the cloud cover, but that chance for rain and snow. It looks to be more later in the day. So I think the morning hours, if you've got plans to move around tomorrow here along the Front Range, you'll be okay. You'll be fine, no issues tomorrow morning, and really through most of the day. It's not going to be until mid to late afternoon that we'll see any sort of issues from our next storm system. And, well, you don't need a meteorology degree to pick out where the front is on this forecast map for tomorrow. Lamar near 80 degrees, Denver topping out in the low 50s. So, yeah, obviously that differential, that's where that front will be really, really impacting things as we get into your day tomorrow. Mountains 30s and 40s. A lot of those highs will be early in the day. Temperatures fall in the mountains as we head through the day. So, big area low pressure. We've been talking about this for the last 5-6 days or so. The concern with it earlier on in the week was that it was going to be a bit too far south to give us much moisture here in Colorado. That has changed. The computer forecast models and what we're seeing right now, pretty clear that the system is going to travel its way through northern New Mexico, which is kind of an ideal setup for us here in Colorado, especially into the San Juans and the San Cristos for a potentially high-end event for us. So let's walk you through that forecast again here for our day tomorrow. We do have snow heavy at times in the mountains through the day. Now, the further east you go, the later that snow will start, of course, but in the San Juans, the West Elks, certainly on up into the flat tops as well as the San Cristos, it is going to be dumping snow tomorrow morning. We're going to be talking about, in some cases, 2-inch-per-hour rates. And then the heaviest snow for some of the nearer mountains, at least in Denver, the I-70 mountains, the Medicine Bow Range, the Rocky Mountain National Park. For us, it's going to be, I think, a bit more in the early to mid-afternoon when we see that heaviest snowfall move its way on through. Then the Denver area, and I kind of haven't talked too much about Denver yet, but it looks like our main time window will be somewhere after dark tomorrow. We may start as a few raindrops or even some pellets of graupel. Kind of mentioned that last week. May start as some of that tomorrow, late afternoon. We will not see any accumulations until after dark tomorrow. As a reminder, sun sets around 5:50, so I don't think we'd see any sort of issues until about 6:30 tomorrow evening. And then through the evening tomorrow, we'll see that snow gradually wind on down. By Friday morning, by the time you wake up on Friday, pretty much all the snow will be over and done with. One thing to watch out for, though, as we get into tomorrow night and Friday mornings, we could see a few even slight issues on the roads Friday morning. Temperatures will get very cold for Friday morning, which means we could be looking at the potential for some ice and maybe even some, especially bridges and overpasses. Remember, those freeze over first, so we'll be watching out for some of that. A little bit of slush out there here in the Denver area. Again, Greg, Keeley, and I just talking about this. Not too wowed by what we're expecting here in the Denver area. Hopefully I'm not putting words in Greg and Keeley's mouths either, but it does look like we'll get our first measurable snowfall of the season on the board. This is one computer forecast model. Probably, to me, sounds about right. We get a 1/2 inch to 1 inch of slush on the grass, on the car tops. You get whoop-de-doo, that kind of deal for us as we get into Friday morning. But in the mountains, this is certainly going to be a pretty big storm. I think we're looking at a widespread foot plus in southwest Colorado The ski resorts probably doing cartwheels about this. This is great news up into the mountains, continuing our active start to the fall snow season in the higher terrain. This is great news for the mountains. This will reinforce the snowpack we built last week. We're not going to lose it to melting. We're going to keep a lot of that snow that we got over the final few days of the month of October. Once we get past that, it's very cold on Friday. We're going to be talking about temperatures dropping down to the 20s for Friday morning. And then Saturday, Sunday, Monday, we'll be back a little bit above average. Pretty nice weekend ahead. And then early next week, we'll gradually knock those temperatures on down a little bit. But in terms of those snow impacts for us here in the Denver area, again, we're talking about a few flakes and a little bit of slush in your grassy surfaces, some car tops. You get to 6,000 or 6,500 feet or above the Palmer Divide, Castle Rock, Morrison, especially west side of Morrison. You get into Evergreen, that's where we're going to start to see some of those issues on the roads. I think in town, in Denver, we're probably looking at just grassy surfaces, car tops, and a little bit of slush. We get on the board, we get our first measurable snowfall. I think that's a pretty safe bet at this point here in the Denver area. Remember, we need 1/10 of an inch of snow or more at Denver International Airport for it to officially count as our first measurable snowfall. What we had last week did not count. We had flakes, but it did not accumulate. So therefore, we have technically not started the snow season here in Denver. And you might remember that last year we waited all the way until December the 10th to get that first measurable snowfall. Looks like it will be November the 3rd or November the 4th until we get that this year. So hopefully, I think you're, gone? Goodness gracious, gone 11 minutes here rambling about this snow. So hopefully it's answered your questions. If not, don't worry. Meteorologist Greg Perez is right behind that TV screen. He'll have an update for you coming up at 9 news at noon. And then Chief Meteorologist Kathy Sabins in at 4 and 5 today. And then Meteorologist Danielle Grant in at 6, 9, and 10 tonight on the 9 News family of networks. Once again, Meteorologist Chris Bianchi. And hopefully we get a little bit of snow here tomorrow night, right? We all kind of want to see a little bit of that. And hopefully that answers, again, your weather questions. And thanks for joining us here on 9 News Plus.